Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing Grid Legends once again. I think I've played this on A Weekly Waypoint before. Today, a little bit different though. I'm going to be racing from inside the cockpit when I remember what the controls are to be doing that. There we go, I figured it out. I talked about this a little bit last week, and I don't have too much to say about the gameplay here today, by the way, but just a real quick note. I did mention last week how I've always been like a third person behind the car racing, Andy, and I'm just now starting to see how much fun racing in first person actually is. Is it more difficult? Yes. Is it more fun? Also yes. Although I don't know about doing it in multiplayer this way because I do tend to crash into other vehicles a little bit more in cockpit mode, and I always feel awful when I do that online, so if I do play online, usually I am reverting back to the old third-person camera just so I can see all my car around me. But yes, hello, happy Monday. Did you see yesterday I put up a big, chonky, edited video of Diablo 4 where I played through every campaign back to back? That's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. I'm going to keep it spoiler-free. But yeah, last week I talked a lot about Diablo because I just finished my replay of the base game, and I had a lot to say about how much more I enjoyed it this time around, and that was partially because I knew what to expect in terms of it being a sequel to Diablo 3 or not, and also just because it's had years of updates at this point and they've ironed out the weird difficulty curve that the original version of the game had, which really hindered the pacing of the story. That's no longer a problem. It's a much smoother experience. But that was all last week. This week, I'm here post Vessel of Hatred, post Lord of Hatred, to tell you, hey, how do those campaigns stack up without giving away any spoilers? Well, I did originally play through the first half of Vessel of Hatred, and I gave up on it and left. And that's because, as a chapter of a campaign for a story that you've had to wait a year to get more out of, and it's still not exploring anything that you wanted it to explore, and it's kind of not really giving you all that much exciting in the way of plot. It's mostly just a goose chase. I didn't love it the first time around and I didn't finish it, but this time around, when you play it like as part of a whole, as part of the 3 parts of the base game and the 2 expansions, yeah, it's a decent enough chapter. It's probably still one of the weaker points in the story, but it's fun. I like Nahantu. I like the storyline which we do over there, and there's some fun lore things which happen. I'll tell you what, this playthrough, especially Lord of Hatred, which I'm about to get to, has really made me want to dig into Diablo lore, which I did back when I got super obsessed with Diablo 3 for the first time, but it's been a while and I've forgotten a lot of stuff. But I remember with Diablo 3, I remember feeling like, especially in comparison to like Warcraft, for example, the lore of a world was a lot more simple. Like, there was a lot less to build off of. You had, like, you know, the high heavens and the burning hells, and then you had obviously Sanctuary and the humans there who are kind of caught in the middle, who are part demon and part angel, and you kind of have this recurring sequence of events with, like, you know, humanity trying to survive the primevals, and like they imprison them and they break free and stuff like that, and it just felt like there wasn't all that much of a direction to go in terms of story. Lord of Hatred has actually opened my mind a little bit. In fact, just Diablo 4 in general, like making Lilith the main villain of the base game. It was interesting because it wasn't a primeval for the first time, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, there was still primeval shenanigans afoot, but for the most part, Lilith was the main antagonist of the base game, and it was really fun to kind of explore more of like the demonic hierarchy of, like, you know, it's not just the primevals who are a threat, this is literally the mother of Sanctuary, she's the reason you exist, she's gonna be a big deal. And Lord of Hatred, again, no spoilers, but that expanded upon the lore in directions that I never expected it to go, especially in terms of just like what you would expect out of a Diablo franchise. In terms of theme, aesthetic, soundtrack, storyline, like, Lord of Hatred is quite a fresh take on Diablo, but at the same time, the great success of it is at no point does it not feel like Diablo. To give you the most basic example, Scovos, which is the area we're in for this expansion, is basically based on ancient Greece. If I were to show you a screenshot of Lord of Hatred in Scovos, and you didn't know a thing about Diablo 4 and I told you it was from Titan Quest 2, you would probably believe me, because it's that kind of a theme. And Diablo 4 and Diablo in general has always been like gothic, dark fantasy horror vibes, right? But somehow Skovos does not feel out of place. In fact, the beauty of the island is, you know, it brings the horror of the demons and the primevals and all that stuff into contrast in a way that really works. And with the soundtrack and everything, again, it at no point does it feel like I'm not playing a Diablo game. And I really love that, because as much as I love the dark horror stuff for Diablo, and I think it is important to make sure we keep doing that, by the way, I also really love that, you know, like, if the entire world was like that, it would be a little weird. And it's nice that we can explore some areas of Sanctuary which aren't just entirely relentlessly grimdark, at least aesthetically speaking. But yeah, the story, without saying anything about it really, I really enjoyed. It's definitely my favourite part of Diablo 4. If I had to do a quick tier list right now, I would say at the top is Lord of Hatred, in the middle is Base Game, and at the bottom is Vessel of Hatred, and I don't think that's a particularly controversial opinion. I've also just continued to really enjoy playing Paladin. I did not expect to become this fond of my actual character, but it turns out when you play all the campaigns back to back, and you watch your character go through all the story, you're gonna grow an attachment to your character. And I do wonder if the game's propensity for... since when did I use that word? Sorry. If the game's propensity for getting you to make a new character every season doesn't hinder that feeling a little bit. Like, for instance, I remember... I think one of the reasons I didn't love Vessel of Hatred so much is I felt this weird disconnect of... I was doing it on a different character, but everyone was still reacting to me like I'd done everything on that character. But I didn't have an attachment to my Spiritborn the way I did to my original Sorcerer, and it just kind of felt odd. That's not the main reason, but it definitely contributed. And I think for every big expansion or narrative patch, I don't know if they're ever going to do like a big important narrative patch thing, for any story going forwards, that's important. I'm probably going to have to remake Calum, or just make another male paladin, because there's not a whole lot of differentiation between them, but there is class-specific dialogue, and they do all have their own voice actors and stuff, and I just grew attached to my himbo of justice. What can I say? But yeah, sorry, all that to say, Diablo 4, bloody good game. Bloody good game. If you really like the Diablo series and you haven't played 4 yet, now is legitimately the perfect time, because you've got like 30 hours of solid campaign ahead of you. Even Vessel of Hatred, it's not like some bad part of a story to wade through. It's just a chapter that isn't necessarily as gripping as some of the stuff before and after it. But it's still good, and it still advances the story. And yeah, in Lord of Hatred there were definitely some big story moments, which are big spoilers, that just had me... Like, I mean, you could go watch the video if you want to see the spoilers and don't care, but I was shouting at my monitor a few times in excitement or anger, and yeah, it was an experience. Honestly, if they can keep that kind of storytelling up, I can see Diablo 4 becoming my main Blizzard game, because I've still not finished Midnight. I've still not gone back to WoW and finished the story of the latest expansion, and I've heard it disappointed people in the raids, or like the conclusion to this like opening patch or whatever. And it just feels like Diablo 4 right now, this will obviously change, most likely anyway, as time goes on, but right now it feels like Diablo 4 is where the high artistry of storytelling and soundtrack and all that stuff is, and World of Warcraft, I don't know, maybe it's really good as well. Let me know if it is. But from my perspective right now, it just kind of feels a bit long in the tooth, and I don't know that there's any solution to that. It's just, when you tell a story for that long, it's a little bit difficult to make it hit quite as hard as the earlier parts of that story did, I think. Whereas Lord of Hatred, absolute cinema. That I was like, Blizzard really cooked with this, like all those phrases we like to say nowadays. It felt like they put everything they had into it, and it really paid off. So yeah, I'm gonna be I've already started getting into the end game, which is much better than it was last time I tried some end game back in the base game. It basically plays like Diablo 3 now, except whereas in Diablo 3's end game you basically had two things to do, right? You had bounties or you had rifts / greater rifts. And a couple of extra things interspersed in there, but it was mostly those two things, and that was fun. But this time around, it's kind of more like a great big assortment of things that you can choose to go and do at your own leisure, and certain things advance certain aspects of your character, like upgrading your paragon boards or glyphs, sorry, or like, you know, just like trying to get gear from shit and doing hell tides and stuff like that. Everything has a reason to do it, and they've got a great new thing called the war table, where you basically plan out your activities of what you're going to go and do, and then you can level up the activities to give you additional benefits. And it's just really, really nice. Again, it plays like the Diablo 3 endgame now. There's basically greater rifts in the game now. I'm not talking the Kurast Undercity, which was their first step into, okay, people want a greater rift style thing, let's put our own spin on it. That's fun, but it's not greater rifts. We now have the pit, and that's not new to Lord of Hatred, by the way, it's just my first time doing it. We now have the pit, which is literally just greater rifts, and I love that. But yeah, I'm not super familiar with what's going on in the end game yet. I'm still kind of getting my bearings. There are still things I haven't looked into or unlocked, but I'm making my way up the Torment levels. I'm on Torment 2 currently. I've actually unlocked Torment 4. I'm just wary of making it a slog. So I'm trying to keep it so that enemies are still quite quick to kill, because I don't want to burn out on this game. And I do have a season pass as well, because I used my Steam wallet to get the deluxe edition upgrade for free, basically, by selling all my Steam trading cards. Oh my god, we're nearing the end of the episode and all I've talked about is Diablo 4. But yeah, it's fun, and I'm going to keep playing it for the foreseeable future. Also, I was very tempted, I'm still kind of tempted, I was very tempted to spend some money on some shinies in Diablo 4, right? Like, they're overpriced. I generally disagree with the pricing and all that, but for World of Warcraft armor sets specifically, I think they're a fun novelty. I wouldn't mind necessarily. If I upgraded to the Ultimate Edition, I get the Platinum to get one of the armor sets, or get the Paladin one or whatever. But I actually decided, you know what, I'm just going to get the Diablo 2 Infernal expansion, because I don't have that yet, and it's cheaper. Actually, you know, it's about the same as upgrading to the Ultimate version, so I was like, why don't I get a whole ass game instead of, like, one pretty armor set? So I did that, and I've played a little bit of that, not a whole lot. But I've been playing a Warlock and Diablo 2. It's nice to have it on Steam now as well, and that's pretty fun too. It's just as well that this episode has mostly been dedicated to Diablo talk, because, I mean, I haven't really played all that much else. However, you may remember that one of my most anticipated games this year was LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, and that came out this week, and I did pick it up. I haven't played a whole lot of it just yet, because it came out yesterday, yesterday as of the time of recording. Or day before. Day before? It came out the day before. Anyway, I played the first couple levels, and then I remembered that I have Humble Monthly, and I could have saved money buying it there, so I waited for a refund so that I could save what I thought would be £6, but it ended up being £3 for whatever reason. Hey, free quid is free quid, so I did that, saved myself some money. And because of kind of interrupting my flow of play and waiting for a refund and then like rebuying it somewhere else, I haven't properly gotten back into it. But I've got to the point where, because for those of you who don't know, Lego Batman, the idea is like it's telling Batman's story from start to finish kind of thing, kind of like interweaving elements of the Batman mythos from across various canons like the movies and the comics and stuff like that. It's just a celebration of all things Batman. And this game is getting rave reviews, by the way. You might be like, why are you talking about a Lego game? No, this is like a proper collectathon platformer, freaking like celebration of Batman that fans love right now. It's also kind of like everyone's calling it like an Arkham Light game, like the combat in that game. It's very different to a lot of other Lego games that I've played. But yeah, sorry, I've got up to the point where I'm in Gotham and I can do some of the open world stuff, but I really haven't unlocked all that much yet. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's very pretty. It actually, my PC struggles to run it a little bit. I had to turn the graphics down, which is kind of funny because it's a Lego game, but also, you know, they make it so you can see every little tiny scrap of fabric on the cape and stuff like that. I think I'm going to have a lot more to say on this game after I've spent some more time with it, but for now, I'm pretty happy with it. And I'll probably play some more of it when I'm done recording this. But if I'm being honest, another reason why I haven't played all that much Lego Batman yet is because my Diablo 4 fixation is just that strong. Which is nice to be able to say, because I really wanted that for me from that game. And this is the first time it's really captured me, you know? I'm glad that we're finally there. I finally think I would choose Diablo 4 over Diablo 3. Not necessarily objectively across all time, but where I am right now, just because Diablo 3 is very much a game that while I'll always love it, I've played so goddamn much of it that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get back into it again the way I used to. Whoops, there I go talking about Diablo again. One last thing before we go, I just binged over the course of less than 24 hours, I think. There is a series on Netflix called Dark. It came out, I think, in 2019, the first season, and it's a German drama, and it's a science fiction. I don't know if I want to tell you all that much, because the less you know, the better, but it's very... They like to sell the show by saying it's very mind-bending, and yeah, that is true. I keep having to be like, wait, who's that in relation to that person? They're not afraid to like throw a big cast at you and you have to try and keep up, but I think it's a 10 episode season, and they're like 45-minute long episodes, and yeah, I just binged the entire first season. It's so good. That's another reason why I haven't played Lego Batman. I've been binging Dark, so I'm gonna get back to season 2 now, because shenanigans are afoot, and I wish to see where they lead. Either way, thank you very much for tuning into this episode, and please feel free to leave a like, and I'll catch you in whatever I make next.